Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Bayishim, Braka Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bayishim, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and this is going to be another video dealing with the mark of the beast, which is the RFID/NFC microchip implant. With each passing day, as we get closer and closer to the end, more information is coming out to further prove that the mark of the beast is that microchip implant. Hey, it's past June and there is a microchip. And if you can't see it and you're an Israelite, you better pray to Yahweh Bayishim Yahushai that they put the spirit on you to reveal to you that the mark of the beast is the microchip implant, because we're about to go into some horrible times which are going to lead to this mandatory vaccination of the microchip implant. And if you decide not to take it, you're going to be faced with being put to death. And I'll be reading from two articles to further show that we're getting closer and closer to that mandatory implementation of the microchip. My first article's on inc.com, and the title reads, "The Fourth Industrial Revolution is Here. Ubiquitous technology means the human quotient is more vital than ever." And Esau Edom's laying it out bare to let you people know what time it is. Talks of the fourth revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, and the 2021 Great Reset at the World Economic Forum all deal with a digitized world, all predicated upon that microchip implant. You've got the 5G getting set up to be able to process all those microchips that people are going to have. We're going into a cashless society. And whether the mandatory implementation of the microchip implant comes through the coronavirus and forced vaccinations or an economic collapse, it's quickly on its way. During this time of the fourth industrial revolution, boundaries between technology and humans has completely blurred. No longer is the question, how might we bring people to the technology, but rather, how might we get the technology to and into people? And how do they get that microchip implant into you? By inserting it through a syringe. We see this in the automotive industry's marketing efforts to co-create with consumers and in wearable technology. Well, the shift reigns far beyond automotive, apparel, and accessories. Over breakfast this past summer in Shenzhen, China, Mart Masik, the innovation lab director at the Swedish bank SEB, and I'm sure a lot of you brothers know by now that there's been a massive push for that microchip implant in Sweden, and it's steadily moving to all other countries. Matter-of-factly referenced a chip in his hand. This was completely foreign to my American ears. How could this be? In 2015, SEB was one of the first companies to commit to setting up offices in the Stockholm-based Epicenter, a co-working digital house of innovation, with offices also in Oslo, Amsterdam, Helsinki, and New York. At Epicenter's Stockholm location, SEB and Epicenter founders Ola Alhaverson and Maisel Kumar co-created the SEB Innovation Lab. The impetus for Masik and 200 of his colleagues to opt into implanting the chip was Epicenter and SEB's question, how are we modeling innovation beyond having the word in our titles? Their chief disruption officer challenged them to try in order to learn. Asking for volunteers working at Epicenter to implant the chip was a first step. Starts out voluntary, then it's going to become mandatory. The chip was inserted into the fleshy part of their hand just below the thumb knuckle by a tattoo artist at after-work beer and chips parties. The advantages from their perspective include convenience, seamless interaction with any surrounding digital environment, the Internet of Things, the blockchain technology, and an easy replacement for credit cards and keys that they may neither buy nor sell, save he that has the mark. It is the same type of chip that some people implant into their pets. Masik uses his passive RFID chip to enter the office building, use the printer, lock his bike, and eventually he may use it to purchase train tickets. Masick and others like him represent early adopters on the diffusion of innovation curve in the fourth industrial revolution, where cloud-based digital platforms, AR, VR, and cryptocurrency, cashless society, compel us to become comfortable with intangible and ubiquitous technology. 2021, the Great Reset, the Great Digital Reset. While Masick and others see few drawbacks to the implanted chip, some compare its novelty to that of pacemakers in the 1970s. The World Economic Forum emphasizes that trust and relationship building is still essential for cloud and digital providers to develop. Melina Chilmarkov, the Europe and Asia Pacific manager at INVNT, has observed the tech industry becoming more mindful about encouraging humanness within their company structures and communicating their brand's commitments to human values, trust, honesty, love, soul, etc. to consumers. But what these elites really want for you people is enslavement, misery, no rights, and to be a good obedient slave, a good goyim, cattle. Integrating the human quotient now reigns supreme in technology, as evidenced by Microsoft President Satya Nadella's book, Hit Refresh, the quest to rediscover Microsoft's soul and imagine a better future for everyone, where the words soul and technology are referenced in the same sentence. And the last place you want to be getting information from is Microsoft, which used to be run by Bill Gates. And who's pushing for mass vaccinations globally right now to return this planet back to so-called normal? Bill Gates. And he also said that there needs to be some type of immunity certificates, digital immunity certificates, to let the authorities know that you've had the vaccine. Maybe that microchip implant. While from where I sit, Masick is an early adopter along the innovation curve. He sees himself as a bit of a laggard compared to others at his firm. Lessons from the 20th century's second industrial revolution's automated factories provide a cautionary tale. Let's ensure that we leverage technology to amplify the human experience and not replace it. Now I'm gonna go to my second article, because it gets even better. It's happening right here in our own backyard in the good old United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Sodom in Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And this is from popularmechanics.com, and the title reads, Michigan makes worker microchips voluntary for now. Wait, what? It's protection we didn't even know we needed. And it's protection that you're not going to have for too much longer. If you adopted your pet from a rescue shelter, they probably have a microchip embedded beneath the skin on the back of their neck. It's a tiny radio frequency identification, RFID chip, that's no larger than a grain of rice, and it helps you find your furry friend if they ever get lost. Now, in a strange twist, though it was always the plan to begin with, you could also have a microchip just like it, as some companies have adopted the tracking technology in lieu of keys or traditional building access badges. Last week, however, the Michigan House of Representatives took a preemptive strike against the technology, passing a bill to make the microchips voluntary for now in the state. The Microchip Protection Act would allow Michigan employers to use microchipping, but could in no way force employees to participate. As we'll see shortly, the scriptures say otherwise. With the way technology has increased over the years, and as it continues to grow, it's important Michigan job providers balance the interests of the company with their employees' expectations of privacy. Representative Brona Call, the Republican who sponsored the bill, said in a press statement. She continued, Microchipping has been brought up in many conversations as companies across the country are exploring cost-effective ways to increase workplace efficiency. While these miniature devices are on the rise, so are the calls of workers to have their privacy protected, which is all futile in the end. These politicians take their marching orders from the powers that be, the elites, the puppet masters behind the scenes, And when the time comes, there's going to be that mandatory implementation of the microchip implant. And again, if you refuse not to take it, you'll be faced with being put to death. Let's get into these precepts. One we should all know by now, Revelation 13 verse 16, and he causeth all, that he being the elite rulers of the planets right now, the elites of the Edomites, or the so-called white people, such as the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Merovingians, etc., etc. And in some other translations of this verse, when you the word causeth is replaced with the word forced, so it could also read, he forceth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, everyone to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, the microchip implant, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And when we go to the Strong's for the word mark, it's G5480.
Strong's G5480. Charagma.
Haragma, a stamp or imprinted mark, a thing carved, sculpture, graven work. And how do they get the microchip implant into you? They carve into your skin with that syringe. And when we go to the Strong's definition, it has the root word for charagma, which is G5482, karax. And what does it say? A scratch or etching, scratching into your skin.
Strong's G5482. Charax.
Harax, a pail or stake. And what do you do with a pail or a stake? You implant it into the ground. And the microchip implant just happens to look like a miniature stake that gets implanted into your skin. And when the microchip implant is mandatorily implemented, you won't be able to do anything in society without it, as it says back in verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, or travel abroad, or get a job, or anything, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Verse 18, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666. And when we go to that 666 in the Strong's, it's G5516.
Strong's G5516. Chai, Xi, stigma.
High, psi, stigma.
Psi.
666, the meaning of which is the basis of much vain speculation, but the men of the Lord know exactly what it is. But in the Strong's definition, it says high psi stigma, the 22nd, 14th, and obsolete letter, G4742, as a cross. And when we go to G4742, it's
Strong's G4742. Stigma.
Stigma, a mark pricked, carved, or cut into the skin, in or branded upon the body. No longer is the question how we might bring people to the technology, but rather how might we get the technology to and into people. A mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. So if you receive the mark of the beast, you're pledging your allegiance to Esau, Edom, and his New World Order system. And best believe the situation's going to get crucial out here and desperate to where people are going to think that there's no other way to make it except by accepting the mark. Again, people are going to be faced with being put to death for not taking the microchip implant. back in Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast are the aspects of Esau Edom's beast system, the political, financial, and military aspects. And the beast is the last leg of the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 2, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO-EU alliance that the US is a part of, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast or receive his mark should be killed. So it just goes to show how crucial the times we're going to be. But hey, there's a silver lining to everything. When Esau Edom mandatorily implements the mark of the beast, that's game over. There's going to be the hour of temptation, and shortly thereafter, Yahushua HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is going to make his second coming to save the elect of his people and his people only, the true children of Israel, who are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and put an end to the rulership of the heathens, chiefly you Edomites. This is Job chapter 20, verse 22 to 26. In the fullness of his sufficiency, when Esau Edom, the elites, are at the peak of their power, he shall be in straits. When he mandatorily implements the microchip implant, then Yahushua is going to make his second coming. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, he sat at his table and got most of the world chipped and thinks that he can just sail off into the sunset of his new world order. The Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. And not only is Yahushua going to make his second coming to save the elect and put an end to the rulership of the heathens, but nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the ends of the earth. And the main place that's going to get that work is the United States of America. It's going to get hit with 200 million nuclear missiles and get turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And that iron weapon and bow of steel are speaking of those nuclear missiles, because what you have to remember is that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a modern nuclear-tipped ICBM was, so they had to describe it the best way they could, as iron weapons, bows of steel, arrows, and as it says in verse 25, it is drawn and come out of the body. Yeah, the glittering sword, the nuclear missile cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown, a nuclear fire not blown, shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. Everywhere you Edomites dwell is going to get hit with nuclear missiles, and the survivors afterwards are going to get rounded up by the elect and have chains slapped on them so they can serve 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery, building up the kingdom of heaven. And the first people that are going to get those chains are you elites, you Rockefellers, you Rothschilds, you Gettys, you DuPonts, you Merovingians, etc., etc. And to you sincere Akim out there, whatever your lot is, if it's your lot to be a martyr in this truth, then so be it. Do not take the microchip implant, because if you don't take it and endure all things like a good soldier of Yahushua HaMashiach until the very end, you're going to be of that elect number. You're going to be on that chariot with Yahushua in that new spiritual body if you get put to death, waiting to come and save the rest of the elect. But if you do take that microchip implant, not only are you forfeiting your chance of being of the elect and the first fruits of the kingdom of heaven, but you're going to take place in this nuclear fire that these other heathen nations and 2/3 Israelites are going to take part in. Hell, if you take the mark, you are a 2/3. I'm going to close it out in Revelation chapter 14, verse 9 through 10. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, the last leg of the fourth beast, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO-EU alliance that the US is a part of, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. those nuclear missiles, as well as the so-called laser beams from the chariots of the Most High, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.